Okay, so if we could just settle ourselves to sit comfortably in the chair. Make sure that your spine is nice and straight. And just take a couple of deep breaths. And with the in-breaths, just breathe in peace and relaxation. And with the out-breaths, just let go of any tension, any stress that you might be holding in your body. And just breathe in tranquility and breathe out any thoughts, unwanted thoughts. Nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Just allow yourself to be in the present moment, the only moment that there is. And we'll start the proceedings with 3 OMs, RE-OMs. Interesting that Edgar Cayce said that the way that home is spelt and sounded, it almost sounds like Om. In a reading, he said that home is a very important sound. And I suppose home means a lot to a lot of people as well as home. Okay, now that we're nice and relaxed, we'll just take a deep breath and do the first of the chants. Another deep breath. And one more deep breath. Okay, then we can do the head and neck exercises. So just drop the head forward, chin to the chest 3 times. And drop the head back, looking up at the ceiling 3 times. And drop the head towards the right shoulder and upright again 3 times. Just remember, this isn't a race, it's just nice and slowly. And drop the head down, ear towards the left shoulder and upright again 3 times. Drop the head forward and rotate the head 3 times, 360 degrees to the right. 3 full rotations, nice and slowly. Don't overstrain. Just be gentle. Drop the head forward and rotate towards the left. 360-degree full rotation. Okay, now we'll do the alternate nostril breathing. Breathe in through the right nostril and out through the mouth 3 times. Now breathe in through the left nostril and out through the right nostril 3 times. And now the first prayer of protection, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. And the affirmation from the Search for God lesson on cooperation. Not my will, but thine, O Lord, be done in me and through me. Let me ever be a channel of blessings, today, now, to those that I contact in every way. Let my going in, my coming out, be in accord with that thou would have me do. And as the call comes, here am I. Send me, use me. And the second prayer of protection. As we open our hearts to the unseen forces that surround the throne of grace, beauty, and might, we throw about ourselves protection found in the thought of the Christ. And we'll now just go into the silence for about 8 to 10 minutes. Would you end your meditations now, please, and bring your awareness back to your room. and Father, Mother God, we're grateful for this opportunity of silent communion with Thee. And we ask that the energies that we have raised during our meditation may now go out to those who are in need of help, of assistance, of your love. And we especially wished to pray for all of those who have no one else to pray for them. May they receive that which they have need of at this time. And we'll conclude this meditation with the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Thank you, Ross.
I think I did mess up, but I felt like I was about to mess up again because I was just getting so emotional about that 23rd Psalm. It's just really affecting me every time I say it. I say it twice a day, every day anyway, but it must be just saying it with a group. The energy is just different.
Still reading from the book Meditation, A Step Beyond with Edgar Cayce, Spiritual Healing. Spiritual healing is often spoken of in hushed tones, with an undertone of the mysterious creeping in. Instant cures are sometimes referred to as miracles. Medical science frequently raises its eyebrows and looks in the other direction, perhaps hoping it will go away. Spiritual healing is not a miracle, nor is it mysterious. It is a very natural experience. Spiritual healing is the positive use of the creative energy flowing through an individual as a result of prayer and meditation. Spiritual healing does not necessarily have to be just physical. It can be emotional or mental or even spiritual. The ability to be healed or heal another can be brought into existence through prayer and meditation. 4. Know that all healing, whether it be through the application of mechanical, mental, or spiritual forces, comes from the one source. For it is indeed as he has given, in him ye live and move and have thy being. The latent ability to heal self or heal another lies within everyone. Some have recognized the gift and have developed it to a higher degree than others. For some, care not whether these things exist. Also, there are instances when the desire to not be healed lies buried within the subconscious, perhaps as a part of a karmic pattern carried over from some other time in the earth. This then must be worked out in another manner. Each individual who seeks healing aid must ask. As of old, he that would be aided must seek, even as has been indicated. As has been given, let all things be done in order, seeking, knowing, as ye measure, as ye act in thought, in mind, in heart, in body, and the imaginations of thine self become materialized in others' actions. Healing may take place when one has attuned self to the divine within, mentally surrounding that which is afflicted with the healing light of protection of the Christ consciousness. The simple but deeply meaningful affirmation of God's will be done, not my will, is most appropriate in a healing meditation. In the visualization of the protective light around the area or individual in need of healing, the energizing vibrations of healing are directed to the area. In healing, one must have faith and expect that the will of the Father will be done. Spiritual healing is making use of the same vibratory power as that which was used by Christ and his disciples. Vibration is, in its simple essence or word, raising the Christ consciousness in self to such an extent as it may flow out of self to him thou would direct it to. As silver and gold I have none, but such as I have I give unto thee. In the name of Jesus Christ, stand up and walk. That is an illustration of vibration that heals, manifested in a material world. What flowed out of Peter or John, that as received by knowing self in its entirety, body, mind, soul, is one with that creative energy that is life itself. The spoken word carries the highest vibrations of all, even greater than the vibrations of hearing and seeing. When one prays aloud rather than to oneself, the vibratory pattern of spiritual healing is intensified. Edgar Cayce explains spiritual healing and the motion of the spoken word thus. The body physical is an atomic structure subject to the laws of its environment, its heredity, its soul development. The activity of healing, then, is to create or make a balance. If in the atomic forces there becomes an overbalancing, an injury happening, an accident, there are certain atomic forces destroyed or others increased. When a body separate from that one ill, then has so attuned or raised its own vibrations sufficiently, it may, by the motion of the spoken word, awaken the activity of the emotions to such an extent as to revivify, resuscitate, or to change the rotary force or influence or the atomic forces in the activity of the structural portion or the vital forces of the body in such a way and manner as to set it again in motion. Thus, the spiritual or psychic influence of body upon body bring healing. One sees then that all ailments are a disarranging or destroying of the atomic structure of a certain part of the physical body or mental or spiritual bodies. To bring about healing means that the one being used as the channel is instrumental in the atoms returning to their healthy or normal positions. One must realize that it is not himself who is the healer, but that he is allowing himself to be used as a channel through which the healing strength is being funneled to another. And, and it is during meditation that the healing power may be raised. As we have indicated for the body, All healing of every nature must come from the spiritual. It is the attuning of same to the divine within self that brings healing forces. Thus, as was given, it is well that the body raise that awareness, that spiritually energizing force consciously within self in deep meditation, provided there is the consciousness of what it, the influence, is to do, and is not in its activity of a selfish nature. It may be personal, yes, but individual more than personal. Many will be inclined to ask, question, is it possible for an individual to raise his own vibrations or whatever may be necessary to effect a self-cure? The answer, by raising that attunement of self to the spirit within, that is of the soul body, oft in those conditions where necessary ye have seen produced within a body unusual or abnormal strength, either for physical or mental activity. From whence arouse such? Who hath given thee power? Within what live ye? What is life? It is the tuning of self, then to same. How? As the body physical is purified, as the mental body is made wholly at one, with purification or purity, with the life and light within itself, healing comes, strength comes, power comes. So may an individual effect a healing through meditation, through attuning not just a side of the mind, nor a portion of the body, but the whole, to that at oneness with that with the spiritual forces within, the gift of the life force within each body. In the attempt to heal self, as well as others, it is well to know and understand that the illness is not always in the part of the body seemingly afflicted. That can be the effect of a cause. And in all probability, the actual cause can be found in seemingly unrelated areas. In the cause can be located and healed. The effect will follow suit. For thy body is indeed the temple of the living God. God didn't mar the body. Only self can do that. By marring the mental attitudes in experiences, do the physical effects come. The physical and mental attitudes then are to be creative. So must be the application for those things. The energy vibrating through the physical body during meditation can also be of a destructive nature if not put to the proper use. The subconscious can pick up negative thoughts without one's consciously realizing it. The unconscious then finds a way to implement the negative without one's being aware that it is happening. The ability to heal oneself or to act as a channel of healing for another lies within each individual. However, before attempting to heal another, one must first heal himself mentally, physically, and spiritually. For, as is manifest by the activities of those that would bring healing to others, the healing of every sort must come first in self, that it may be raised in another. There is being created that within the physical body that will have such Christ consciousness as to eradicate all disorder. To be healed or to act as a channel of healing for another, one must recognize that the Christ Spirit is being manifested in the act. This is the same Spirit which is sought during meditation. The latent ability to heal is reawakened when one consciously realizes that through the Christ Spirit within all things are possible. Even as the vibrations in self may be raised to that of the healing force as goes out from a soul to seek a union with those ills in individuals, so may self raise within self that consciousness that knocks at thine own heart, that would enter and tarry there. Keep that inner voice. Speak gently, speak kindly, knowing that in harmony of purpose may each add their part to that to be accomplished in those seeking. Those that would then be healed must seek through these channels. That ends the reading from the meditation A Step Beyond with Edgar Cayce.
We have it in our library, and I just found out about, and it says a lot about the same where you were talking about today, Lolita.
Oh,
Can I see the
Mhm.
cover? Oh. Say something while you.
An
Right.
introduction to the work of Glad Helpers Prayer Healing Group. I think, I don't know when it's printed. I think it's printed in the beginning of the 70s and the 90s. So it's a small booklet that we just had.
It's the Glad Helpers Healing Group.
Yeah.
I've got a copy of that somewhere. But
Yeah.
an article or part of it and used it in the newsletter at one stage.
Wow. And it says what we covered, a bit of what we covered just now.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. They're saying we have to heal ourselves before we can heal others.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
makes sense.
That's a lot of
Makes
work.
Watch your words. It will be so easy.
Oh, yeah.
So easy.
My
Yeah.
mother was able to do instantaneous healing. I think I might have mentioned it before. But no one in the family wanted to talk about it. My mother was reluctant to do it because I think the time she did it was either to her own mother or to one of her sisters. And it caused such a fear amongst everyone that she was reluctant to do it after that. No one wanted to talk about it because those sort of things, apparently someone burnt themselves quite badly and my mother was able to heal it to the extent of forming new skin over the scar straight away. But no one wanted to talk about it. And another time, my cousin was in hospital. He'd had a head-on crash on his motorbike, split his motorbike helmet in half, and was in a coma for weeks and weeks in hospital. And my mother said, right, that's it. She's had enough of this. So she went in because my mother's sister was in such a state about her son. So my mother caught the bus, went into the hospital. I don't know what she did, but he woke up while she was there, out of a coma.
That's great.
I've got a question to the group because there are healers in my hometown when I was growing up, and one of them is actually my sister-in-law, and she gave it up because she said it's creating havoc in her body. She seems to be getting sick while she was healing a lot of people in my hometown. Does anybody have any idea why those things happen?
I've heard of that it can drain the energy of the one doing the healing. I've heard of that I've read about that. I think it was like Steiner, one of the books about a biography, saying that after doing a healing of a burn, he was incredibly drained of energy.
But some people can actually pick up the symptoms of what they're trying to relieve the other person of.
So do you think maybe it comes to preparation and the prayer of protection? Because with life coaching, I have a ritual that I do before I actually start my life coaching. I do my ritual of protection and asking for guidance. And and I've noticed that uh, during the actual session that I'm having, inspiration just comes to me, and I don't, you know, in the beginning when it starts happening, I used to get a bit scared because it's just so, oh, where did that come from? Where did it come from? But it's so regular now that I now have developed a reaction that when the inspiration comes, that I just look up and say a silent thank you, because I know where that's coming from. And after the session, the same thing, I have a ritual of cleansing, because I feel, you know, the memory comes to me that when I was a little girl, that people in my hometown who are actually healers are actually suffering from it, you know. So
Yeah. The only thought that came to my mind was I think overdoing it can drain you. Like Edgar Cayce was warned not to overdo his whatever the readings, but he did it anyways. So I wonder
yeah.
if it's if you do too many or too much.
Yeah,
Out
especially
of
at the end
balance.
of his time. Yeah.
Makes sense. Out of balance, right?
Not a balance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Killing the goose that lays the egg.
Perfectly said, Liz. Perfectly said. I think we really have to remind ourselves, don't we, that in the process of serving, we have to, it is actually a balancing act, that you take care of yourself, and you know, unlike what the churches and what my family and society brought me up with, that it's about helping others, but they never taught me how to look after Lolita. It's only by self experience and getting to a point of burning out that I actually said, this is not working for me, because I can only give what I've got. And even if someone comes to me asking to be filled, if my jug is empty, there's nothing to pour, right?
Yeah.
It's
So I
balance.
think oh, go Liz.
I was just going to say it is a balance thing, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes the healer needs to be healed as well by a group.
Bingo.
Oh, yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. You
Phys-
know, you
you,
need a support group or to
you know the expression, physician,
mm,
heal
well,
thyself.
Mm.
Even
But
though the
some,
healing
but
comes through,
mm,
you work as a channel of healing
yeah.
to allow the healing to go through you into someone else. But that can still deplete you, because Maria found that, my wife, that she was struggling to see many clients a week because it was just so draining on her. And in the end, she was just mainly just sitting in the corner, allowing all her guides and helpers to do the work. And all she was doing was describing to her clients what they were doing. And they'd tell her, yes, I can feel that. Yep, I can feel that. While Maria wasn't even touching them. It was just allowing her other guides and helpers to do the work on the clients.
But those people who are not aware of those things, they think if you say no to someone, they think you are selfish. But that's not what it's about, because you have to get off and you have to heal yourself and get time to yourself to recover yourself.
Well, the
And
other one
that's-
is saying
yeah.
that this is God's force, God's healing energy that you're using. You shouldn't be charging for that. And so my
Oh
wife
yeah, that's
said
what.
to those people that said that I'm not charging for the healing. I'm charging you for my time.
Ah, that's interesting. Not charging for the healing, but for the term.
The time I'm spending with you.
Very interesting. Talk about balancing as well. I find that a lot of my clients, most of them, more women than men, and especially mothers and housewives, I find that they find it really, really difficult to actually start balancing, looking after themselves and looking after others. They find it really difficult to set boundaries. And when I asked them, I said, if right this minute you get really, really ill and you can't do anything else, what will happen then to the people that you love? Which you use as an excuse that you cannot stop doing what you're doing. So it sort of make them think that, yeah, that's right. If I get sick now, then the very people I want to serve, I won't be able to serve.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I was reading somewhere that you got to have balance before you can focus on your purpose. It's balance before the purpose, not the purpose. What are we doing then?
Can you say that again, please, Keith?
But you got to have balance, focus on your balance or self-balance, mind, body, and balancing the mind, body, and soul. Then you can focus on the purpose or activity or whatever you're supposed to do.
That sounds.
So you work on balancing yourself first, then.
My personal experience, though, is that I thought everything has to I have to be perfect because before I actually can start serving. Little did I know that in the process of serving, simultaneously I am also being trained. I am also being sandpapered, if you know what it's really amazing because I was a perfectionist being a Virgo, and I thought I can't start because there's still things I have to fix within myself. Little did I know, it's like I felt as if, figuratively speaking, I was actually pushed, you know too much working on yourself, too much learning, too many courses, too many books already. Now is the time to actually put that into practice.
Good point. Learning on the job is very
Learning on the job. On the job training.
More on the job training. You learn more by doing than you do
Absolutely.
by reading. You have to balance it, but you have to do both. And getting out there doing is the best teacher.
I don't know if you remember when I said that I made up this thing where knowledge plus application plus experience equals wisdom. I can have a lot of head knowledge inside my head. Without applying it, I will not be able to experience it. And I cannot gain wisdom from it.
That's good. Good advice to anyone to get started on doing the thing they want to do. Yeah. Okay, this is summation from Meditation, A Step Beyond with Edgar Cayce by M.E. Pennybaker. Continuing. Never before in the known history of the world has the growth of man's knowledge been as phenomenal as it has been in the past 50 years. Medical science is progressing by leaps and bounds. Man has walked on the surface of the moon. He has learned how to live underwater for months at a time in an atomic-powered submarine. These and other things too numerous to mention have contributed to man's knowledge about himself and his material growth. But with all this knowledge, the eternal questions of a spiritual nature still continue to haunt man. The thirst for the answers is quite evident throughout the world today. Individuals are seeking and searching for answers in many different directions. Each one in his own search is discovering that the path invariably leads within. As a result of the knowledge and tranquility which comes from turning within, there is a growing interest in meditation. Psychiatrists, psychologists, government-sponsored organizations, and many different religious denominations are among the many who are exploring the precepts of meditation. In transcendental meditation, one is taught to concentrate on a sound or thought which supposedly contains the vibrations unique to that individual. This is called a mantra and is believed to be capable of taking the soul mind to its current level of development. The use of a spiritual affirmation as opposed to a mantra contributes to the growth and development of the soul. In all probability, a mantra does tend to quiet the mind, which is an achievement in itself. Close to half a century ago, the clairvoyant readings of Edgar Cayce began to give the philosophy of meditation and the knowledge and benefits individuals might expect as a result of practicing it and its precepts. Countless thousands of individuals have and are practicing meditation according to what may be called the Cayce method. These people have proved the validity of it to their own satisfaction. Through the study and practice of meditation, individuals have learned that the Christ consciousness is within each person. The knowledge is within that all things are possible through spiritual growth. Through meditation, individuals are discovering how to live in harmony with themselves and others. They are learning the meaning of selfless development and what it means to become one with the Creator. In studying the Cayce readings relating to meditation, one learns that meditation is listening to the divine within, and that it is not musing, not daydreaming, but as you find your bodies made up of the physical, mental, and spiritual, it is the attuning of the mental body and the physical body to its spiritual source. Individuals learn that prayer is not meant to take the place of meditation, nor is one to be confused with the other. Each has its respective place in the growth of spiritual knowledge. A just attitude toward oneself and towards others becomes important if an individual is to reap the knowledge and growth which comes through the practice of meditation. Hindrances must be laid aside through the cleansing of the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. The precept upon which the Cayce philosophy of meditation is based is not merely a series of random thoughts. Each and every reading has a great deal of depth, which is revealed through the study of the readings. Each one is like a part of a giant puzzle, and when it is placed in its proper place, it reveals knowledge beyond what has been known to date. From the chaos of the many different techniques of meditation, the Cayce readings bring light and understanding. As a noted Hindu told me, the knowledge has been scattered around the world since the beginning of time like wildflowers. Edgar Cayce put it all together in one beautiful bouquet. In the practice of meditation, the phantoms of the mind are wiped away and man knows himself for what he is, a creation of God's. In meditation, too, man begins to understand his desires and reasons for wanting to return to his creator. Although the approach to meditation and the results may differ, the same understanding, the same point of consciousness, and the same state of awareness are still the ultimate goals of all individuals. During meditation, the door is opened and one knows that I will bring to thy remembrance all that thou needest from the foundations of the world. Who, what, how, but him. Who is the maker? Who is the author? Who is light? Who is time? Who is space? The Son, that through his love for his brethren, for thou, thyself, gave all that ye might have the greater, the closer communion with him. That's the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Mm.
If you, Liz, if you could go back, can you just go back?
Yeah, I think
Can you just go back one slide? I mean, oh yeah. What I find interesting here is instead of asking what is light, what is time, what is space, it's saying who is light. So instead of what, it's who.
yeah, that's
which is
interesting. Yeah, really interesting that time and light and space are given a totally different meaning in the Cayce readings. It's good.
So I wonder. So what it's probably saying that the Christ is the light, the time, the space that we
Yeah.
Quite often in the readings too, the Christ, the Son, is equated to the mind. So the mind is the maker, the mind is the author, the mind is light, the mind is time, the mind is space. Because Christ is the mind.
And Christ was the firstborn of the Creator.
Yeah. You can take the host back.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's the end of the book.
That was a great book. Fantastic. Very good book.
I don't know, it was good.
Very good. We were going to decide the next book, weren't we? Did you have an idea, Keith? There was one that seemed to be the better one, didn't it?
Meditation in the Mind of Man.
That's it.
Thurston and Puryear.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that sounds really good. Yeah. Interesting. But we have one more, don't we? One more presentation tonight.
Eva wants to say something, I think.
Well, yeah, this one made me interested in at the first time to the Edgar Cayce meditation, and it's really good because and to the Lord's Prayer, and that's I think it's a good one because it's a lot of illustrations within it and so on. So I think it's a great one. Yeah. And in the when I looked in it, I found a small note like this, and there's a sort of I don't know, it's a sort of a prayer or something. It's not signed or anything.
Is it the Great Invocation?
Yes, it is. Yes. I thought you knew about it. Yes, it is.
When you held it up, it just looked like the Great Invocation.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, like
Mm,
this.
cool.
And I think it's a great. Is it a prayer, Russell, or is it
Oh,
a
it came
explanation?
from these Theosophists,
Theosophy.
Alice Bailey and people like that.
Aha, okay,
It
okay.
came with them, as far as I know.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think some of the original members of the Search for God were Theosophists. And I think some of them left when they realized there was too much Jesus Christ. Because
Okay.
Theosophy more sort of not just Jesus Christ, but all the gurus and
Masters,
masters.
ascended masters.
And Jesus was just one of them.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't a special to them, yeah, but they still had good materials. When I looked in their books and stuff, very, very, very good.
Mm.
So the Theosophy is sort of very similar to Edgar Cayce
Yeah.
in parallel.
That's like wildflowers scattered all over the place, isn't it?
Absolutely. The introduction of the Red Book on Astrology says Cayce's readings are bringing together ideas and philosophies from all the ancient writings that were shown in the Kabbalah and in the writings of the Essenes, in the Gnostic Gospels, and other sources they mentioned as well. I think a ancient site in Iran that has these ancient writings. So basically, that what Cayce is saying is very similar to these ancient philosophies, including astrology. So, a lot of these other writings that date back such a long time ago were saying the same things and included what they call mysticism and astrology. So interesting.
Because Cayce's form of astrology seems to be more aligned with the Indian, what's it called? Vedic astrology. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Which I've never studied, so I'm interested to, because I've learned some of the other, or just the Western astrology, and I've read a little bit of Chinese astrology, which I really like as well. And I have not really read any Vedic astrology, so I'm gonna keep reading that book anyway. So I'll try to study it and write up maybe a presentation or articles about it. Yeah.
There's just so much. There's just so much knowledge and so much to learn that one lifetime is not enough, is it, Liz?
True, there's a lot there. Just even if we read all just Cayce books and limited ourselves only to things with Cayce appearing on the front page on the cover, that's a lot of reading. Anyway, that's good. I think that's what I almost do now. I don't really look at much outside of Cayce, except I think I wanted to read Jung and the archetypes. Unless I can find a book that covers that, covers a discussion of the archetypes from a Cayce point of view that is reflected in what Jung did, because I think that would be interesting. But I haven't found that. I've got some Jung books here. Yeah.
So much to learn. The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know.
So true. So true.
Humans have been writing for a long time. So not written.
We are getting old. We will get old. Very old.
I'll be 70 next year, and there's still a lot of books I have to read.
Yeah.
70 years of existence, and there's still so much out there to be read, you know.
So our group has read 3 books, meditation books. So that's free already done.
We've done well.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
2 books we would not have read ourselves, probably, which is
By
great.
the end of the year, we'll have 20 books read.
Oh, wow.
At this rate. Yeah.
Purpose of Meditation by Marlene Carpenter. I think this is a great summary. What is man? In order to see how meditation is a natural and fundamental part of man, it is first necessary to consider what man is. Man is a combination of body, mind, and soul, an interdependent being operating on all 3 levels, each closely tied to the other 2. The body is our physical temple. The soul is our expression of spirit in the earth plane. Mind is the important link between the 2. The spirit, the source of life, is one fundamental force or creative energy, or God, manifesting in many forms. It can be likened to a tree. It has many branches from which come many leaves, but the source of the life of the tree is one. All of our energy, whether it be work energy, sex energy, or anger energy, comes from only one source, for God is the energy source in the universe. We may look at the leaves of the tree separately or at the branches separately, but when we step back to look at the entire tree, we see that it is indeed an integrated whole. The Edgar Cayce readings tell us that this oneness exists in the entire universe. Since we cannot step back and view the entire universe as we can a tree, this abstract concept should be taken as a logical, inductive conclusion made by reason or on faith. The readings insist that the first lesson for 6 months should be 1, 1, 1, 1. Oneness of God, oneness of man's relation, oneness of force, oneness of time, oneness of purpose, oneness in every effort, oneness, oneness. Knowing versus experiencing. How does knowledge of the oneness of God relate to meditation? Knowledge alone is not enough. We need to experience the oneness of God in order to know. Meditation helps us to get from the intellectual knowledge to the first-hand experience of that oneness. Consider this example. Before meeting a person for the first time, we may have some prior knowledge of him from what others have told us or what we have read about him. Once having met the person, however, we have experienced him to some degree, and each of us in our own way knows that person as we could not have before. This is basically the difference between knowing about God and knowing God personally. Christ consciousness versus Christ spirit. This difference between knowing and experiencing is basically the difference between what the readings call the Christ consciousness and the Christ spirit. The Christ consciousness is the soul's awareness of its oneness with God, imprinted on the mind and waiting to be awakened by the will. The Christ spirit is the expression of this knowledge through the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, from Galatians 5:22. Meditation helps us to get from the Christ consciousness, the more intellectual level, to the Christ spirit, the feeling, emotional level. The latter, the Christ spirit, is really knowing in the true sense of the word. What is the will? The Christ consciousness is that awareness waiting to be awakened by the will. The will is an attribute of the mind and can direct its energies wherever the mind chooses. If we make the decision that we want to experience God, then the will directs our energies to that end. If we want things that are non-spiritual, then the will directs our energies to that end. We choose and then go in the direction that we have chosen. In meditation, which is directing the energies upward, we are creating that which we will become, that which we dwell on, and that which we have a strong desire to attain. Mind is the builder. For mind is the builder, and that which we think upon may become crimes or miracles. The thoughts are things, and as their currents run through the environs of an entity's experience, these become barriers or stepping stones, dependent upon the manner in which these are laid, as it were. Directing our energies upward means that meditation awakens within us that which is of greatest importance to us. It lifts and carries up our highest ideal, whether that be Christ-centered or earth-centered. Thus, it behooves us to think seriously about purifying our thoughts and emptying them of all negative and destructive purposes, so that in meditation, the positive and constructive will flow through us. So what is meditation? Meditation is the access to the throne of grace, of mercy, of peace, of understanding within ourselves. But we will not arrive at that throne if we carry within us a heavy burden of negative thinking. We must first empty ourselves of such thoughts so that the creative forces can work in and through us. Meditation is emptying self of all that hinders the creative forces from rising along the natural channels of the physical man to be disseminated through those centers and sources that create the activities of the physical, the mental, the spiritual man. Properly done must make one stronger mentally, physically. Meditation then is directing the will toward an attunement to and at one-ment with the God force. We must want to accept our divine heritage, which is to be co-creators with God. We must want to use this universal and universally available energy for the purpose of lifting up ourselves and everyone we encounter. We must want deep in our inmost heart to express God in this earth, to bring the infinite into finite expression. Meditation is not withdrawal. It is contacting the God within and becoming a channel for the God force in a very real and substantial way. That he gave of old is as new today as it was in the beginning of man's relationship or seeking to know the will of God. If ye will but call on him within thine inner self, know that thy body is the temple of the living God. There he has promised to meet thee. Living meditation. Through the practice of meditation, we begin to express in small, subtle ways the fruits of the Spirit. We shouldn't expect tremendous changes, but a gradual unfoldment of that beautiful, unique being within us. Not that some great exploit, some great manner of change should come within thine body, thine mind, but line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. For it is as he has given, not the knowledge alone, but the practical application in thine daily experience with thy fellow man that counts. There are those who believe that meditation is an end in itself, that the purpose of meditating is to find a few minutes each day to be at peace. This is well, but misleading. Peace and serenity are side effects of meditation, but not the goal. Meditation is a means or method for a far more noble and rewarding experience than a half hour of peace and quiet. The practice of meditation must gradually, subtly, and cumulatively lead to a new and better way of life. This is the only criterion of successful meditation, a changed life in accordance with the fulfillment of the highest ideal we have set for ourselves. The fruits of meditation occur not during those few minutes we set aside for the practice of meditation, but during the rest of the day. Living meditation is efficiency, love, and devotion to whatever we are doing at any time, whether it be washing dishes, mowing the lawn, or solving a problem on the job. As these results come into our lives, we also notice that the practice of meditation ceases to become discipline. It becomes rather a yearning, a desire to be with a loved one, the Lord, for a few minutes each day, because it is such a natural part of man and his life in this plane. Meditation is a natural practice. The definition quoted earlier states that meditation is emptying self of all that hinders the creative forces from rising along the natural channels of the physical man. This desire of the soul is just as natural as the physical desires of the body, such as hunger, thirst, and sex. Don't seek for unnatural or supernatural. It is the natural. It is nature. It is God's activity. His associations with man, his desire to make for man a way for an understanding. As we begin to feel the truth of this statement through the practice of meditation, we begin to realize that it is the way to rid ourselves of turmoil, strife, and disappointment. The thought patterns that have chained us to these negative and fruitless obstacles are dissolved, and we are restored to an awareness of our true nature. And whatever may be the choices of others, let self determine. Others may do as they may, but as for me, I will serve a living God. I will manifest love. I will manifest patience. I will manifest long suffering. I will manifest brotherly love. And in so doing, there will come in the daily experience that which will bring from turmoils, strifes, heartaches, disappointments, those promises as he hath given. My peace I leave with you, not as the world knoweth peace, but that as satisfies the longings of the soul and makes for that experience in the lives of individuals when the outlook becomes more hopeful in him, in life, in thy brother, in thy associations. Prayer versus meditation. There is a difference between prayer and meditation. Prayer is active, talking to God, turning our consciousness to him, asking him for advice or help, seeking him out. Meditation, on the other hand, is a passive listening, a receptive attitude in which we wait for his answer. And in so doing, there will come in the daily experience that which will bring from turmoil, strife, heartaches, disappointments. Oh, wait a minute. Went the wrong way. Meditation is becoming quiet so that we may attune ourselves to him and hear his answer. We often do implore and invoke God's assistance, but then keep our mind so actively dwelling on the problem, which we have supposedly turned over to him, that we don't give him a chance to answer us. But God will answer if we would only listen. The answer may not always come in the meditation, but meditation will open the way so that the answer can be heard. It may come in a dream, in a new idea, or as a voice out of the blue. Prayer and meditation go hand in hand. The 3 stages of prayer meditation process. There are 3 stages to the prayer meditation process. Stage 1, stilling the body. Stage 2, entering the silence. Stage 3, the healing prayer. Stage 1, stilling the body. First comes the stilling of the body and the speaking of the opening prayer. This can be a prayer of protection or a prayer of thanksgiving. It can be a prayer in which we ask that God take over some important concern of ours, or it can be a general prayer of invitation. The Lord's Prayer is excellent for any and all of these concerns. Whatever prayer we use, we must be certain that we are sincere in wanting to contact the Father and learn from him. Any prayer we utter should be spoken or thought slowly and with feeling. Stage 2, entering the silence. The second stage in the process is often called entering the silence. When we enter the silence, we keep in mind, as on a screen in front of the mind, an affirmation or thought of high ideal. We slowly let that affirmation fade into the background as we go deeper and deeper into the silence, which is the contact with the God within. Thoughts seem to crop up which have no bearing on the spiritual goal. The shopping list for tomorrow, the letter to write, the words of a friend. We can gently bring the mind back to focus on the affirmation. The affirmation is that which we are building in our consciousness and that to which we return when we find ourselves slipping out of the silence. If one is unaccustomed to entering the silence, mind and body might rebel for a while because it's a new habit pattern that has not yet been assimilated by the three-dimensional being, body, mind, and soul. Patience, persistence, and perseverance are necessary. During this stage of entering the silence, energy will begin to build up. This is creative energy, the God force within, meeting the God force without. Stage 3, the healing prayer. This energy working in and through the body must be dispersed. And so we enter the third stage of the process, called the intercessory or healing prayer. At this time, we ask that God send this energy to those in some need, or simply to those we love. We can even let God decide where to send it if we don't want to send it anywhere in particular. We never send a healing prayer to another for a specific healing to be done, i.e. that his liver condition gets better or that he become more religious or the like. We want God's will to be done, and perhaps the liver condition is only a symptom of a far greater illness of which we are unaware. We are meddling when we pray for specifics in this way, especially where healing is concerned. No one is a good enough physician or psychiatrist, even those MDs who are expert in their field, to know precisely what the individual needs in the way of healing. Only God knows that. This type of meddling, although often done with the best intentions, can be extremely dangerous. The safest, most productive prayer that we can offer at the end of the prayer meditation process, in order to share the energy raised within you, is to pray that the Christ light and the Christ love surround and enfold certain people or situations or organisations. Then we speak their names audibly or silently. In this way, when that person is ready for God's healing stream of energy to flow through him, there will be more than ample supply waiting for him to use. How long should we meditate? This process may take only 15 minutes a day, but should be as close to the same time each day as possible. One can build up his time as he feels the desire to do so. The rate of increase and even the desire to increase depends on the individual. It is far better to meditate consistently once a day at the same time for 15 minutes than to be sporadic and haphazard in the effort. The fruits of contact with the God force do not depend on how long we are with him, but that we get to him regularly. Conclusion. Meditation is a practice for the purpose of attuning ourselves to the God within. Because God is one, we learn to experience this unity within our own bodies, our lives, and our affairs. We even learn to experience our oneness with other people and begin to see, for example, that we are in the other and the other is in us, because we all have one fundamental spiritual source, God. And that's the end of The Purpose of Meditation by Marlene Carpenter.
I like that the information about how to heal. They're saying be non-specific about what you are wanting. Rather, like, don't say you want to heal someone's liver or anything very specific, but to send healing thoughts and to speak their name. So it's important that you speak their name and send the energy that you've raised.
You can.
Yeah.
It did say that you can say the name silently. You don't actually have to voice it, but we always try and voice it in the prayer group.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And it's also interesting, the affirmation is that we are building in our consciousness. It kind of seems to me to be implying we're building that for the long term as part of our consciousness. Interesting idea.
Well, if we're going to be dwelling on it during meditation, it's going to be really building into our consciousness. So that's why it's important to get the right affirmation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've noticed my consciousness when I'm wide awake, I'm thinking of so many things in my life, all my problems, this and that, even when I'm working. And then when I'm actually starting to get sleepy, my mind starts to does its own thing, which I didn't. It starts showing me pictures and images and stuff that I'm not in control. So I don't know if that's a deeper part within my mind or a different function. Or
I think it's a normal thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that when they're going off to sleep.
Yeah,
They
just
have pictures floating, coming into their mind.
Yeah.
So I like that about that. It's like when you're waking up again, I can access pictures at that time. So when I'm going to sleep and when I'm waking up, I can see pictures, but I don't tend to see them normally through the day.
No, we're too busy focusing on what we're supposed to do and all the issues that we need to resolve. And
That's the hypnopompic state. Just as you're waking up in the morning, when you're half awake, half asleep still, that's called the hypnopompic state. When you're going off to sleep at night, the half awake, half asleep state is called the hypnagogic state. And that's when Cayce suggested we should be giving pre-sleep suggestions, especially to children. As they're in that hypnagogic state, that just goes straight into the subconscious mind. You don't tell them things. All you tell them is that they're loved, that they're cherished, that you think that they're beautiful. Just tell them positive statements like that. Don't say things like they're not to be naughty or things. Just tell them how much you love them, and as they're falling asleep. And that's the best bedtime story you can ever tell children.
Yeah, because the parent can watch the child, know that they're wide awake, and then the parent can see the child starting to drift away, that's you can see by the eyes.
But you shouldn't be reading them Grimm's fairy stories, because that's going straight into their subconscious mind as well, as they're falling asleep.
I think Edgar Cayce was the same when he was doing the reading. He had, I think the wife would know when, Gertrude would know when he was about to drift off and when he did. And then the suggestion was put in.
Yep. And if she didn't get it right, he would just have a sleep.
No, yeah, nothing.
it's very positive. It reminds me very much of, positive psychology movement. And all the like I studied NLP as well, and I find that really very interesting. And it is very much about positive affirmations, and also methods to heal when people get like repeat thinking, obsessive compulsive, those sort of things. Because when people are really worried about something they think is very important, very serious, it plays on their mind and it won't go away. It sort of becomes an obsession. So I think that, I think people might need techniques for that. But I mean, this is just basically saying, lose negative thoughts, lose destructive thoughts, because our role is to be co-creators. So the things that we are focusing on and thinking about are what we are building. So it's good to use the affirmations and build those instead of building negative and destructive ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to ask Lolita, did you do NLP as part of your coach?
Yeah.
You did.
Neuro-linguistic program. Yeah. Even before I did my my training as a life coach, because my Australian husband, he was into those sort of things. He was the one who introduced me to NLP, to MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator. He was the one.
And what college did you do your course through?
In Melbourne, it's called the Coaching Institute.
I think I know that one. Yeah. Sharon Pearson.
Yep, that's her.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying about how NLP can bridge a person from just being, religious to psychology and then to Edgar Cayce. It's sort of there's you get right into it. It just doesn't clash.
I agree.
You accept everything. It makes sense.
I did my coaching through a company called Quantum Change Institute, and the head director of the company was actually a former Rosicrucian student.
Wow.
And so he just couldn't help himself. A lot of what he said was based on this sort of mystic philosophy. So I like that a lot. I kept hearing him say things, thinking, ooh, that doesn't sound like science. It sounds more like mysticism or Gnosticism. I say, I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
I came across a handle or a description. Said life coaching is like a spiritual psychologist. Spiritual. I love it so much because I find when other life coaches comes to me for coaching, or I had two psychologists that actually ask, because I don't charge anything, so people come to me, and the life coaches, I straight away I say to them, I want to let you know that I don't coach exactly how I was taught at the coaching institute, because I already have a lot of other trainings before I actually enrolled as a life coach. And I find that the reason why it's so effective is because I tapped on the source, if you know what I mean. I asked for guidance, and they never taught me at the coaching institute how to do the protective prayers and actually asking for for God to help you with your work. And so I think that's where the difference lies.
That would be more agnostic, that environment. More agnostic. They'd say, perhaps they might refer to God. They'd say the God that you believe in, if ever. They wouldn't be Christian or prescriptive.
You know what really excites me is I coach a lot of clients that are atheists, They have no idea. And I actually do a reconnaissance, internally. I suss out if the person, what kind of spirituality they have, if they're religious, if they're spiritual, or they have no idea at all, whether they're atheists or agnostics, or and it's really interesting because this is where NLP comes in. Is, you use the words that, if I know that they don't believe in God, it will be foolish of me to actually say the word God, right? I will lose them straight away as soon as I say the word God. Some of them actually will accept the word universe. Some of them are quite happy if I say higher consciousness, but not the word God. Don't use the word God.
Yeah.
You lose them. And so I find it really, really exciting when actually, there are inroads that are made, and they're seeking for God, for seeking the light. It's so exciting to see it.
I've just got to disappear for a moment to check my heater. I'll be back in a moment.
The one your house to burn down.
I'd like the house to stay warm, though, but not that warm.
There's a Muslim girl. She was actually a life coach, and she asked for my life coaching, and she is from Melbourne. And do you know that she actually turned into a Christian?
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Big change.
The magic, the power of God. If we're just willing to be empty vessels to be used, it's amazing what God can do. My project is to keep reminding myself that, you know uh, I am a vessel, and not to get it into my head, if you know what I mean, for the ego. Yeah. It's a constant reminder that I have to keep doing myself, because when you hear people praising you, and when you hear people saying, oh, blah blah blah, blah, the first thing that I have to do is, okay, calm down. Because I'd like to share with you guys that when I was in the born again Christian church in Sydney, because I brought my Catholic family into born again Christianity. And so when I was in Sydney, out of the blue, we were singing praise and worship songs, and suddenly I stopped singing, and I felt this light coming from above just went through my head, uh, just enveloped my whole body, and I started prophesying. And the prophecy is not just for other people in the church, but actually mainly for me, I realized. And that is actually killing the self, which is not killing physically, but it's the ego, referring to the ego. And after the pastor actually came to where I was standing, and stand next to me, just making sure it's not a bad spirit. And because he can tell, he can sense what spirit. And so that's my introduction to the light, coming down, and it's very unexpected. And I think that's what I am uh 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 looking forward to with the meditation, when it actually, but I become totally aligned, because I have seen that light come down.
That would be an amazing experience.
It was. I've never forgotten it. I've never forgotten it.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Russell, you want to close with a prayer?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to mention something that I don't really want to go straight into another 13 weeks of course. I prefer to have a break for 2 or 3 weeks. Because I'm doing 2 Zoom meetings a week as it is, which makes 3, and sometimes with the other group on a Saturday night, It makes 4 in
Mm.
some weeks.
Mm.
I'd just like to have a break for 2 or 3 weeks before we start on whatever book we're going to do, Meditation in the Mind of Man. Looks like being.
So we all have a break.
If that's
then
all
for
right
2
with other people, I don't know. Or would you all prefer to go
Okay.
straight to that?
Okay by me.
Yep.
Balance. Balance.
We,
Mm.
yeah,
All work and no play.
we've had a good long run, so we'll have
Oh,
to
look, it's been
break.
fantastic. It really has.
Yeah, that sounds okay. The
Okay.
idea of having a small break, maybe 2 weeks off and
2 weeks.
Yeah.
coming back on the 23rd or something, or
Okay.
Well, that's only 1 week off.
oh no, it's not.
Wait a minute, 9 and 21.
16
Will you
off.
come back
16
on
and
the 30th?
23. So we meet on the 30th.
Yeah, be the 30th.
Mm. Okay. Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
And that's probably less pressure on Keith to get things set up
Mm.
for the new course. Okay,
Okay.
so if we could just attune ourselves, just become aware of that connection within, connection to the Christ self, the God self, the soul, the higher self. And just become aware that in God we all live and move and have our being. And God expresses through us. And we just pray at this time in gratitude for being able to meet together via Zoom to share this experience over the last 13 weeks of coming to a greater understanding of prayer and meditation, how it works in our lives, and how we can become more attuned to that source within us, the still small voice that will guide, protect and help us in all of our endeavours, and truly is the real self, the real being at the core of who we are. And as we go about the next few weeks, may we truly be channels of blessings to all we meet day by day, that we may be better expressions of thy Spirit, Father God, in this world. Amen.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Yes.
It's good.
See you in 2 weeks.
3
3
Oh,
weeks.
yes.
30th on the 30th.
I'm sure we won't miss it, Keith, because you will be sending us the email anyway, right?
Yeah, I will. I will.
Oh. Okay.
Thank
Take care,
Love you,
everyone.
everyone.
Everyone,
Okay.
Bye.
Love you
Bye.
all.
have a
Good
lovely
night.
week.
Bye.
Bye.